Jeff Mercer.
Ward, what's happening?
Welcome to Truckin On, brother.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Right when I started this podcast, I'm sure I texted you and said, I need you on the podcast. So
You did. I wasn't really into such things at that time. I really didn't start doing podcasts till I did my brother's. And so I had a little stage fright.
When did you do Jeremy's? Last year?
About a year ago.
Yeah.
About a year ago.
This is my third year of doing this, and so I'm getting really used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. You have like 100 episodes. So.
Yeah, you'll be like 125 or something like that.
Wow. It's a high body count.
High body count. Yeah. I don't know if actual body count or podcast body count, which one was higher.
Sorry, I'm Baptist. I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't. You're from Irving, though. Does that cancel it out?
Yeah, that's definitely cancels it out.
Man, I remember when I became an industrial real estate broker was March 20th, 2006. So it was almost exactly 19 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
you hired me.
Right. You were the young man out of Brown.
I was. I'm always curious thinking back to that time. I was on the road for like 4 years and like working at the All Good Cafe and Freebird's Burrito. And I got drunk every night for 4 years. And
Wow.
Then I decided that I was going to die and I need to get my shit together. And Todd Hubbard introduced the two of us.
How do you know Todd?
He went to high school with my cousins.
Oh, right. The early Mafia?
The early Longhorns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my cousin Jake and Logan and T. Gray all went to high school with him. And they're like some of my closest friends. So
That's coming back to me.
Yep. And he would hang out with me and my cousin T. Gray during my band years when I was just partying all the time and playing music but telling, I knew he was succeeding and
Mm-hmm.
he was loving it and working really hard, and it just sounded cool. So anyway, he introduced us and you hired me. So I must have done a good job of fooling you in the interview process.
You didn't fool me. You did.
Yeah.
You were a good interview, and you had the credentials and you had the makeup for sure. And you're here. You're right. You're
Yeah.
still doing it.
I'm still doing it. And it was such an awesome experience working at Robert Lynn. And I think of you as being a great teacher. We only lasted a year together, but you taught me a lot in that year. And I remember it hitting me pretty early on, like just learning how to go knock on doors and a zip code. Like, if shit in my life hits the fan, I can go sell anything using this tactic.
Exactly.
Of going door to door and selling something to people in a neighborhood that people in the neighborhood need.
Right. Right.
And that's pretty cool. And that had never, I don't know, the science behind it had never been laid out to me so clearly before as you had laid it out to me, where I felt, it gave me a lot of comfort. Like, you can drop me off in any city in the world and I can go figure it out.
Right.
You feel that way?
I absolutely do. On the way over here, I've got a building I'm trying to lease that I own, and I just buzzed through Deep Ellum and hit a couple of art galleries, and boom, found someone that wants to go tour it.
Did you really?
Yeah. I was so geeked because I was like, oh yeah, this is easy. This is easy. I could, sell Bibles or buildings or donuts, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
going back in time, you grew up in Irving.
I did.
Tell me about ages 12 to 22.
Okay. So, grew up in Irving, never left Irving, like I was telling you earlier. Mm-hmm. We, went to Irving High, which is a pretty generic suburban high school at that time.
4A?
It was 5A.
5A.
It was the biggest high school of that era. I guess they're 6A now. really into sports, really into football. I just loved it, just impassioned. A lot of that was, trying to make, probably trying to make my dad happy, but a lot of it was just my own passion.
Yeah.
So, played football, wrestled, all sorts of stuff, very active in school.
Did you do like student government?
Yes. My freshman year, I was the president, and then I think I did that till my senior year. I did not run my senior year because I just didn't want the distraction, I guess, or just had kind of gotten tired of it.
I did the same thing.
Did you?
Yeah. I did not run for class president senior year. I really didn't do it because you have to be in charge of reunions if you're class president senior year. And
right.
I remember thinking ahead, like, I don't want to have to deal with that.
Right. I remember that. And that's kind of a negative. Unfortunately, our class president has not had a reunion since our 20. And I've been out of high school 30-something years, 33 years. I'm 52, 30.
Dude.
Yeah.
You look good for 52.
I
said you looked good when you walked in earlier.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. But I married the class vice president. And
Christy.
she actually, Christy, she put a reunion together or helped. Probably one of the bigger things, and this probably won't surprise you, but I had perfect attendance in high school.
That does not surprise you at all. You're right on time. We did not see eye to eye on the perfect attendance when I worked for you.
Yes, no.
I had trouble.
I'm guessing you didn't have perfect attendance.
I did not. No, I did not.
Yeah.
Did you never skip school or use your athletic prowess on the field to get out of class?
No. My mom was the one that led that charge. I remember being sick. Now you would never go to school with the flu I had that day, but she was like, "You're going." And so I sat in class all day just so I could, it was my senior year. She's like, "You've got to finish this." So, anyway, that's probably unique about me growing up.
You're like hard worker, good student,
right?
Great athlete.
I was one of those honor. You go to the honor classes, but I never was the top of the honor class. I was just kind of hanging around in there, making, B's and honors math. But, I was a hard worker. I never really thought of myself as a super talented guy in anything, not academically or athletically. It was just all effort, just pure effort. So that was kind of my, kind of Rocky Balboa mindset.
Yeah. And then you went to Rice.
I did. I got a football scholarship there, and I don't know how to explain Rice. You probably get it going to Brown.
Kind of. I mean, I've never been on campus or there. But tell me, like, who else recruited you, and how did you choose Rice?
Well, I had better football schools. I got recruited. I had offers from my best football school was Arizona State, and that probably would have ruined me going there.
Me and you both. That would have been really fun though.
Yes,
for the first year.
Got a little FOMO over that decision. But Rice, Arizona State, SMU, TCU. Northwestern. So I was kind of going after the academic schools too, and then the Naval Academy.
And they kind of find you too. Like if you are making B's and you play football, then the academic schools come find you fast.
Right. But yeah, no, that were the other schools. But going to Rice is more like work than college. Zero attractive ladies. It's not like a 1 or 2. There's like a 0. So that was disappointing. You couldn't really, I never really made a friend outside of sports. Probably a lot of my fault, but just didn't have anything in common with them. Most of them were super academic. They would skip any sporting event. They didn't really go to parties.
Yeah, and football's like at Rice and Brown is probably similar. Like you're not like the cool kid at school anymore, like you were in high school.
No, you're almost like bringing the weighted average down.
Yeah,
You know, you're not supposed to be there.
I always felt at Brown like people are looking at me like you don't deserve to be here, and they're right. I could not have gotten into Brown at pure academics. There's no way. Like the scores you have to make to get in are extremely high. But if you play football, they have a list, the football department, and they can slide you on there.
Right.
Yeah, it was really weird because I didn't expect that coming into it. I showed up like, oh yeah, I'm coming in to play football, and then you get there and it's just like this weird vibe change.
Totally. I mean, yeah, that's exactly right, and I'm sure it's similar.
And the girls were not. They're like the ratio of hot girls in Providence, Rhode Island at Brown versus Dallas it was just like two different worlds. But they also didn't like me. None of the girls liked me there anyway. They still weren't that on. But they they looked at me like, oh, dumb jock.
Right. Right.
Like, who is this guy? I don't even want to sit next to him in class because he's going to pull my average down if I'm in his energy field. That's how I felt. So
yes. No,
yeah,
I never
weird.
went on a date with a girl from Rice. Not one date. So anyway, but
I just started drinking a lot, and then I found women that drank a lot.
Oh, okay.
And that worked out for me.
Okay.
At Brown.
You had that in common?
Yeah, so then I dated some heavy drinking gals, and wasn't very long lasting, but it at least like worked for a little bit.
Okay.
So,
okay. Well, I ended up getting back together. Well, I wouldn't call it getting back together, but after about 2 years at Rice, I came home for Christmas break and went to a high school party. You know, your high school buddies getting together over Christmas break, and my wife was there, and we started dating, and we dated long distance the last 2 years of college, which is kind of miserable.
where did she go?
She went to Arkansas.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a much better athlete than me. She played soccer there. She played basketball there. She played two sports in college. Yeah,
I knew she played soccer.
She's a really good athlete.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you played all 4 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's another thing. I only played 1 year and I got injured. So hence like the drinking, and then I really got into the band life. But you're playing sport. I mean, when you're playing D1 football, it's a job.
Totally.
You're in it and playing for 4 years and going to class at a place like Rice. Like I can't imagine you have too much free time to go do too many fun things.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
It was, we had our moments. We had a weekly card game that me and a couple other players did every Wednesday night. We watched Seinfeld and Melrose Place.
That's on Netflix.
Oh, it's great.
I rewatched season 1, episode 1. And I just saw it come up. It's like very poorly filmed. Like the quality of film is like, wow. Yeah. I remember when that show was new. It was great.
It was great.
You were like that same exact age as them.
I was. We lived in an apartment complex that looked like Melrose Place.
Yeah.
So it's very relatable.
They had some hot women that lived in Melrose Place.
Oh my goodness.
It's just so ridiculous.
That's a lineup.
I was in high school when that came out, and just like, I want to be in my 20s and live in LA at this place. So that's good times.
Yeah.
And then, so you got out of Rice, you graduated in 4 years.
Yeah, I graduated. I was super burned out. And so,
were you sad to leave, or were you like,
no,
I mean,
no,
you were ready for the next level?
It was Irish goodbye, just disappear into the wind.
Okay.
So my senior year, I'm in just a football class to get through. It was called like sports management, if you were going to run a sports team. And the professor goes, yeah, my family, we own this golf course in Glacier National Park, blah, blah, blah. And after class, I went up to him. I said, hey, I'm really burned out on life, sports, school. I just need a siesta from all this. And I said, I'll work at your golf course. And he goes, well, you have a Rice degree. I'm only going to pay you $8 an hour. I was like, it's fine. Let's do it. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? I said, I'll just do whatever you tell me. Dig ditches. And so he made me the assistant golf pro. But that basically meant bartender, get everything ready for the day, go work on. They were building a few homes, and I'd go out there and just do menial stuff. But it was great. It was a great summer. I got away from the city.
Where was it? Colorado?
So Glacier National Park is right at the Canadian border in Montana.
Oh, cool.
And, my day was basically get up, open the golf course. You could tee off at 5:30 in the morning up there because the sunrise in the summer so early.
Yeah.
So we'd have 5:30 tee times. I'd open the golf course like at 5, get the guys ready to go play their first round. I'd work till 3 o'clock. I'd go fly fish for a couple hours, maybe play 9 holes of golf. Or go take a hike in the national park, and that was my long summer up there till about October.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then what'd you do?
Yeah, so I came back. I didn't know what to do, like everybody that graduates college, unless you're one of the lucky ones that does.
You know what you want, and yeah.
I didn't know. So my dad let me work there for a while. Oh, no, that's not true. Let me back up. Somewhere in my path, I loved waiting tables. I waited tables my last semester at Rice when I was out of football, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought I had a passion for the food industry. So I decided I wanted to become a restaurant manager, and I got a job with CC's Pizza to be a restaurant manager. And they hired me for their location over on Buckner.
Right here?
Yeah, right here. And it was a little south of here, like at 30. Yeah, it was. And so I went over there, and as a manager in training, they want you to do everything. So I made pizzas, I cleaned the toilets, I cleaned up. And at the end of the first day, I came home to my wife. We were living with her grandparents. They had a back house. And I said, I've made a huge mistake. Yeah. Huge mistake.
Dude, I worked for about a month at Freebird's Burritos.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine it had to be like a similar type environment. And when I was there, that was probably the worst job I've ever had.
Yeah, it was just so off.
They were in that's about it. Like CC's Pizza at Buckner in the 30.
It got real that day.
If you ever go back into that career path again, you should just go to like Nick and Sam's or something.
Oh, yeah, that would be perfect. I'm sure I have a lot of qualifications.
I loved waiting tables too, and I eventually started working at the All Good Cafe, and I worked there through my band years, and that's still one of my favorite jobs.
See, that feels like my fallback is I could always wait tables.
For sure. Like go someplace cool, beautiful outside, like in the mountains or something, or by the beach, and go wait tables somewhere. Yeah. I could do that. And yeah, those were great times, and that's great sales training too.
Absolutely.
I love hiring people that have waited tables, or if you're just like working with someone and they've waited tables, you can almost tell.
Yeah, you get so humbled.
Yeah.
So humbled. So I worked at CC's that day. That's how my career started. And then I went and worked for my dad because I didn't know what else to do. And then, and he didn't need me. He didn't really need me, but he let me hang around for about 6 months. Then I went and worked for a company called Reliance Steel and Aluminum, which is similar to my dad's industry, but it's much bigger. They're a publicly traded company. And I worked there about a year, and I looked around the room and I realized that there was no career path there to do anything great. And so I started researching what would be the top paying sales jobs out there. And I determined it was commercial real estate or pharmaceutical sales. And have you ever met a pharmaceutical sales rep?
Yeah, they have more hair than you.
Well, they have more hair than me, and they're about 25 years old and
blonde,
beautiful
women.
Right, and I can't compete with that. So,
yeah, I guess they cold call on doctors.
Right.
So, I guess that works, or it wouldn't be a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a thing then. That's when the opioid, they were selling all those. There's a show on Netflix, I think that.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
It's really fucked up.
Yeah, that was about that time.
Yeah. So yeah, they're just out there going to doctors' offices. So yeah, they were getting paid a lot of money. Do they make as much as like a commercial real estate broker makes?
I don't think if you make it to the top half of the commercial real estate world, they do. But I think they're about $250,000 for a good one. And
out of the gate, you're probably making like a nice fat salary too with it.
Yeah. And I didn't research it terribly hard. So I'm going to go to commercial real estate. Someone told me to specialize. I was familiar in warehouses, growing up in warehouses with my dad and at Reliance. And so I just drove around Great Southwest and started calling signs.
Asking for a job.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I called CB, I called Trammell Crow, and I called Henry S. Miller. Trammell Crow never called me back.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. To think like you've got, obviously you or Jeff Mercer and everyone knows now, but back then, kid who went to Rice, played football 4 years, is sign calling in GSW. Like, I think everyone would get that phone call and be like, dude, you're hired. Come on. You know? Yeah,
you'd think. But
I would. Like, nobody calls me like that. You know? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Trammell Crow never called back. CB, I met a guy in the lobby, and he basically DQ'd me. He was just like, "No, we're good, but nice to meet you." And I was like, "Can I do anything here?" He's like, "I'll get back to you." I never did. And then I called Henry S. Miller and this guy named David Dunn. Have you ever done business with David?
He has his own company now. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, but at that time he ran the GSW office which is basically the Tarrant County office at that time, for Henry S. Miller, and he hired me. And so I was pretty excited, I got in the field I wanted to be in. And so I worked for David, and David taught me some good things. He's kind of the old-fashioned, he's definitely a better salesman than a used car salesman, but he definitely had that feel at times.
Did you wear the suit? The suit every day?
He was suit and tie every day.
Yeah.
Suit and tie every day. And so I worked there for about a year, and he really didn't give me any real substantive direction. And I remember this. I was driving around in South Grand Prairie one day, and it was like 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. And I was like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I mean, he said just go make cold calls, and I did, but I didn't really know how to qualify, develop, show, and close the deal. Yeah, it was just like shotgun.
Yeah.
And about that time, a guy named John Brewer, you know John?
Yeah.
Great agent. John called me. He worked GSW for Robert Lynn, and he'll tell you that I was starting to make him nervous because I was calling everybody, and he recruited me to go work Brook Hollow at Robert Lynn. A guy named Matt Mittendorf had just quit.
Yeah, I know Matt.
Mm-hmm. Still around. So I went over to Robert Lynn, and
what year was that?
I feel like it was 98, 99.
Yeah.
I went over there and worked 10 years, and you came along in 06. So April, Robert had come to work for me maybe a year or so before that.
Yeah.
And we had a really good team. We did.
It's crazy in the scheme of things how short that stint was at Robert Lynn, but it seemed longer. And, I mean, the time moved slower back then.
It does. Yeah, and those are the impressionable years, right?
Yeah, because you were 33 and I was 27 when we worked together. Mm-hmm. So that time, so much happened in that year. Like it seems longer, right? Like
it does. It does. I remember a lot of that year.
Me too. And you were again, like from my perspective, I don't know, we're jumping forward, but you got to Robert Lynn and then you started working Brook Hollow and the Trinity, 75207 and 75247.
Right. That's right.
And you got good direction finally. Like they had their system.
Yeah, they had a system, and I just told myself I'm going to try to be the best one in the office at the system.
Yeah. And then you probably, from not having a system, like craved that system. And then you even built a better system, I think. And then you started teaching the new and improved system, and you were in charge of training everybody there, right? Right.
My last 5 years, I ran Action Group and did a lot of the bettering of the system. And, kudos to them for giving me that ability to do that. They were very supportive, great company. I still have a lot of friends over there, left on good terms.
And when I started, they had just become NAI Robert Lynn.
Okay.
So they had kind of gotten more corporate. And then you had also moved to Graham. You moved.
Was I in Graham when you started?
You moved there when I started.
Okay.
I think that was when you moved there.
Yeah.
And I think you were like, dude, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this kind of. I mean, you were like, so then you hit this other, probably like a burnout wall or something.
Totally.
Like you're just, to go make all the cold calls you did in those 10 years, it's like record-setting amount of cold calls, I would think, what you were doing. And the number of deals you have to do in Brook Hollow, 100 deals a year or something, right?
Yeah, you have to, because the buildings were $3 gross.
Yeah.
You do. I did the worst case example of that is I did a 250,000 foot lease, and the rent was $1.70 gross, and I was the listing agent, and I made a $17,000 fee.
Yeah. I was thinking back earlier today when you're coming over here about making a $15,000 fee, selling like Greg Schragen a building on Director's Row or something. And it was $15,000 fee, and I was like, "Holy shit! I'm going to Las Vegas, baby! I'm gonna go fucking blow this money." But it was a lot of money to me.
Yeah,
I was living on $15,000 to $20,000 a year for the previous 4 years.
Yeah.
So when I made $35K that year. My first like year at Robert Len, that's what I made. It was $35,000. I was like rolling in it. But yeah, man. So then you were like, dude, I'm going to Graham. I'm moving my family. Like, what was going through your head then?
Well, yeah, I had this weird. So when I started Robert Len, about 6 months into it, I'd watched way too many get rich in real estate, self-help cassettes. You know, it's this guy named Carlton Sheets was all. You know, I don't know if you remember that name.
I don't.
He was like on the TV with two pretty girls sitting next to him on the beach, and he was like, you know, no money down, real estate, you can be rich. And so I just got way too much into that stuff. But I had set a goal when I 6 or 8 months in that I was going to buy properties, and if I could get $10,000 a month in positive cash flow, that was my goal. And I thought I could do that in about 10 years, so like my early 30s. I think it was like 35. And then I wanted to go coach high school football, because at 25, I still kind of had this football thing in my head, and I still hadn't put that out, you know, on the inside. I still kind of had it in my head, and I really had convinced myself that's what I wanted to do. And if I had this passive income, then I could have a decent lifestyle and not just be, you know, a high school football coach that's always struggling check to check. And so that's what I set out to do. And when I got to about 32, I had reached that marker, and I had decided I wanted to be in a smaller town, you know, Friday Night Lights or whatever you want to call it. And we decided Graham's place we wanted to be. And so I moved out there to end my real estate career and be a high school football coach.
Yeah. And you had more than $10,000 in positive cash flow.
I did.
So that you were one of the top brokers in the company during that time, but then you're also building this portfolio. So watching those videos was actually like paid off.
It did.
It gave you some ideas, and I mean, you were buying buildings in just what happened to be like the renaissance of that market, and it still is kind of like it just keeps going.
It does.
But when I started working there in 2006, you're like, dude, this is so crazy what all these buildings are worth now. And I mean, now it's like 10x probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first building I bought, I still own it, and it's on Chancellor Row, and I paid $13.75 a foot, and it's probably like $150 right now.
How did you buy the first building?
So it was during the .com era, and this building came. Trammell Crow had built the building, and he had built most of Brook Hollow, and he put a package on the market to sell his buildings. And this building I picked out as like, this is the best deal, and so it's $13 a foot, $13.75 a foot, $310,000, and I tried to sell it to my usual investors. There was a group of people down there that were buying buildings, pretty off the radar, no funds. It was just dudes, just small business owners.
Yeah.
So I took it to 3 or 4 of those guys, and they all said, "Why would I buy a 12 cap when I can invest in a .com stock and make 25% a month or 30% a month?" And it was pretty defeating. And I'd make an argument. Well, the building next door just sold for $25 a foot. You're getting this one for half price. So after coming home and whining to my wife for about a month, she goes, "Why don't you buy it if you think it's such a good deal?" And she really challenged me, and I was like, I should buy it. But it was an all-in moment for me. I needed $60,000 to put down on it to get a loan. That's about all I had. And so I did it, and I bought it, and they were paying $2 gross, and they had about 3 years left on their lease. And then about a year into the lease, 9/11 happened, which was like another, scary moment in business where everything stopped. So I was like, did I make a mistake? But then by the time their lease came up, I was able to raise it 50% to $3 gross and really do well.
Yeah, and now you still own it.
I still own it.
What do they pay now?
About 10 something net. It's like 13 gross.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I know I'm getting older because I'm like, man, that's so high.
That's right.
So then you did some other so what was your next deal? I'm so curious about the owner side of this business.
So I bought a few other buildings in the area, mainly with partners. There was a gentleman named Dennis Lord. I sold him a lot of buildings. One year I sold him 12 buildings, and my mind was just blown by that.
Yeah.
And then he really taught me how to do that and how to operate all that. And so he let me buy a building with him on Sovereign Row, which we actually still own. Dennis passed last year, so
did he?
Yeah. I own it with his family, and we all get along great, and it's worked out well. But he did pass last year. And then the hallmark deal of that era for me was Motor Circle.
Yeah. That was my first listing.
Yeah.
And so tell me about that deal.
Okay, so Motor Circle. So it's right on the edge of the design district. It's where Brook Hollow and the design district kind of meet. And so it's not the real expensive design district rents. It's not the real cheap Brook Hollow rents. And I was driving by there one day, and I saw the sign go up for sale. And I called the guy, and I said, what do y'all want for that building?
Who sold it? Do you remember?
I believe his name is Rusty McDermott, and he worked for Henry S. Miller at that time.
Okay.
Rusty McDermott, and I may be butchering this, he was best friends with the president of Trinity Industries.
Got it.
Which I may be butchering that because Rusty McDermott might be the president of Trinity Industries. I'm not sure.
But it was a buddy of the owner.
Buddy of his. Yeah, buddy of the
realtor, the real estate broker who is not really in the market.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. He's just a dude at Henry S. Miller. And I go, what do y'all want for that building? He says, $1,850 a foot. I'm sorry, no. $1,850,000. And which was like 16 something a foot. And I was like, well, y'all are getting $5 gross rents in there, and the nets are $1. What do you? And they had a bunch of vacancy.
Yeah.
So I said, on that same phone call, what do you want? $1,850,000. Okay. I said, I'll be at your office later this afternoon. He goes, why? And I go, I'm going to buy the building. I'll pay your price. A 25-day look, 5-day close. I'll buy it. So I came in too hot.
Did you really?
I think so.
So then he's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to charge you more?
Yeah. So he calls me and he says, we've got another offer. And I said, okay. He goes, but we like your offer. And I go, I'm sure you do because you get the majority of the fee. I knew to give him the majority of the fee.
Yeah. That was smart.
Yeah.
So how much were they asking? 18 a foot?
No, it was like it was I believe it was $1,850,000, and I think that equated to like 16 something a foot.
But it's worth like $50 a foot, or maybe like 35.
I think it was worth at that time high 20s all day long.
Okay, high 20s.
Yeah.
So anyway,
maybe a little bit less, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And so,
but it's a hell of a deal, and you're just like, dude, let's go. And then he had another offer, and then you're saying, look, you take the whole fee, or what?
Yeah, I'm pretty much just like, don't worry about the fee.
Yeah,
Don't worry about the food. And what I had done, I had such a relationship with Dennis Lord that he would let me sign leases and contracts for him. So if I had a tenant for a building and I felt like the terms were good enough, he would say, just sign it for me.
Yeah.
And so he would always joke with me at that point. This is like 5 years in. He'd say, what did we buy today? I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Let me go back to price. So $1,850,000, and he says, we've got another offer. And I said, well, what do we need to do to get the deal done? He goes, you need to pay $25,000 more dollars. Very Austin Powers, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, I tell you what, you get the seller to sign it at that price and give it to me and give me 24 hours to think about it. And he was like, that's fair. That's fair. But the whole time in my mind, I was like, you could have said $200,000 more.
Bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Done deal.
Done deal. So he got the seller to sign it. They gave it back to me. I signed it with like in a minute. We put it in our contract. And I called Dennis, and Dennis goes, what do we buy today? And I said, I'm pretty sure I just made you $1 million today. Pretty sure. And so I was going to let Dennis buy it. And then Dennis turned around the next day and said, let's all buy it together. And I was like, even better. So Dennis, Mark Miller,
yeah,
and I bought it. And it was about 40% vacant when we bought it, and a bunch of 3,000 and 5,000 foot tenants. We got it full, which taught me some good lessons about if you buy the building's 90,000 feet. If you buy a big building that's vacant, and you need to get it filled up, because if it's all vacant and you show people the building, they get anxious, like why isn't anyone else here?
Yeah.
So we filled it up, and so that I think having a little bit of scarcity of product actually was mentally good for prospecting. But yeah, we averaged $5 and $6 net rents over there for a decade. And that equated to about a $30,000 a month positive cash flow just on that one building, which was just unheard of in our industry. So it was great.
Were you guys like a third?
We weren't. Dennis owned 2/3, and Mark and I owned the other third. Okay. Yeah. I didn't have the stroke. I didn't have it.
Yeah.
We needed like $250,000 to put down, and I had like 60 or 70. So I did what I could.
And so it's throwing off $30,000 a month for the whole partnership.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And but then you just keep buying buildings and doing deals and leasing. Are you putting most of your commissions what are you doing like for savings? Because I know you're not like you're not like blowing your money, right? So,
no, I had a pretty disciplined system.
Yeah.
So if I made $10,000, 30% I'd put over on the side for Uncle Sam. 10% I'd put over the side for the church. The balance I would live off of the balance, let's say it's $6,000. I would try to live off $3,000. And then the rest of it, I would try to put into savings or reduce debt.
Yeah.
One of my big principles, because when I got in the business, I was meeting agents that were 40 and 50 years old, and they had just gotten crushed in the savings and loan crisis of the 80s. The RTC. Have you ever heard that term? It's where all the savings and loans crashed. And all the bank notes, the banks crash, so they have these loans that are now in default by the lender, and there's no one to service them. So the government created the Resolution Trust Corporation to manage those assets, and so they sold all those buildings at 10 cents on the dollar.
So you just met all of these guys.
So that's kind of a tangent, but I met all these guys that had lost all their income from the savings and loan crash, and so I made a rule with myself, like if I ever had, if I had $1 million worth of assets, I only had $500,000 in debt on it. I would never allow myself to have debt greater than 50% to equity.
Yeah.
And so that, the money I saved went to paying off debt to reach that threshold or better.
And buying more real estate. Yeah. And did you do any like traditional investing, like into stock markets and pensions and that too?
Oh, absolutely. So, my dad was a big stock market guy. So I was always dabbling.
You were throwing some money in that too.
Right.
Yeah.
And never really made money in the stock market.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. I used to try to do that and then I stopped, but I do have just like money that I put into a pension 401k that I let my Merrill Lynch guy just like invest it. So I don't really look at it.
That's the best thing, isn't it?
Money that I don't want to mess with it. Logan, my producer here, was just telling me like, man, the stock market's crazy. Like, I really don't. I'm unimpacted by it because it's all, when you watch the stock market, if you really are like day trading or doing something like that, which I've done in the past, it's always crazy. And it's always crazy. If you're going to be looking at it on a day-to-day basis, you're going to go bananas. But I do believe like in America, and if I go have this guy invested into like conservative index funds for the course of the next 25 years, then hopefully it compounds and grows. But I'm not looking at it.
I think that's the way to do it. I used to time the market, and now it's time in the market.
Yeah,
that's what. And I didn't come up with that. I learned that the hard way, and then I heard it from somebody.
I like it though. It's time in the market.
It's time in the market,
not time in the market.
Yeah, not time
in the market.
Really can't do it.
That might be your quote. I'm going to put it in my quote notes under Jeff Mercer. So it's so true though. It's just like that. It's like a Zen Buddhist saying, "Chop wood, carry water." Mm-hmm. I mean, just like baby steps, consistency, persistency, like that. Nothing like will give you greater returns than that in the scheme of things.
Well, I think you'll appreciate this. So one of my best clients, still a client, he is a Buddhist, and he has given me some of my best financial advice, and he's the one that told me that. And he gave me my very best financial advice, which was, you should be hoping when they're fearing and fearing when they're hoping.
Yeah.
And that to me was the best thing I learned. That was the great thing about making calls on small business owners, is they had a lot of wisdom to share.
Yeah. So you should be hoping when they're fearing and fearing when they're hoping. So when people are super optimistic, basically, then that's when you need to start being careful. And then like times like now, so many people are terrified right now. And I do feel, I read Buddhism to books all the time, and they've helped me so much in life. But I'm thankful for just the peace that I feel. And if shit does hit the fan, like I've spent a lot of the last, since I've got my act together basically 10 years ago, like paying off my debt and like getting in a position where I want to be comfortable if shit does hit the fan. And so just like building that level of comfort and being fiscally responsible for the first time in my adult life, like that in a time like this, it's kind of like, well, if everything falls apart like people are scared it's going to do, then there should be opportunity, and I'm prepared. And if it doesn't, great, and keep on keeping on.
Yeah, right.
And it's kind of a win-win. The way, and God will always give us what we can handle. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's number one. Cool, man. Thanks for sharing all that. If you could go back in a time machine, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I think the thing I would do different is when people were super critical of me, I kind of rejected that advice growing up, and I didn't listen to it. probably especially in football.
You were like, you don't know what you're talking about, kind of?
Yes. I mean, do you want me to tell you a quick story about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so at my best, I was playing football at Rice, and 4 games or 5 games into my sophomore year, I was leading the Southwest Conference in tackles. I'm a linebacker. That's what I'm supposed to do. And the next week we're supposed to play TCU. And my coach comes up to me and he said, hey, you're not really good at covering the pass. And we've got this other linebacker that's good at it, and they pass the ball every down. We're going to start him this week. And my response to him was, are you insane? I'm not only the best linebacker on the team, I'm the best linebacker in the conference. I don't care how bad I am at one thing over here or covering the pass. You're benching your best player.
What year were you when this happened?
I think it was like 93.
But I mean, freshman?
Sophomore.
Sophomore year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was my third year.
Okay.
My red shirt sophomore year.
Got it.
So, but I should have listened. I should have listened to that. And I shouldn't have just reacted and been all arrogant. I should have listened and said, there's a deficiency in my game. I need to work on it.
Yeah. So did you play?
I played in the game.
Then was he right? Did you?
We won the game, so I guess he was right. Is that the equation?
I guess. I don't know. Like, did this guy like come in and cover the passes better?
I guess I'd have to go watch the film.
Yeah, but just like, I mean, basically like humility.
Yeah, just humility. But when people are critical of me now, like, not to throw my wife under the bus, but when she says, hey, you're starting to get a gut, I listen.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I need to do something.
Yeah.
I need to do something about this.
That does come with age, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Guts, and listening to advice from other people.
But my younger stuff, I'd just be like, hey, listen more, talk less. When someone's super critical of you, work on it. Don't just be arrogant. So,
yeah. So now going back to like the end of the Robert Lynn days. So I was there. You hired me. I recall that I worked really well for like the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was doing a good job. And then I kind of started falling off. I was getting distracted because I got engaged. I bought a house. I've talked about this on another podcast before, like the absurdity of my life. I'd quit touring, got a new job, started dating Gina. We got engaged within 6 months.
You got domesticated.
And bought a house and a new car. And I did a marathon, which you recommended I do. And then I started training for triathlons. I got all into that.
And you were good at those. I mean, what was your marathon time?
I did I don't remember what it was now, but it was like under 4 hours, I think.
That's great.
Yeah, like 3:58. I do remember, I guess. Yeah, I got really into it. And now looking back, I was also really into drugs and alcohol.
Oh, okay.
During that time.
I wasn't aware of that.
Well, it was
Maybe
I quit. I was being really good when I first started working with you. Just like, I'm going to go do real estate and stop playing in a band. I'm going to get my shit together in life. But I didn't realize I had a drug and alcohol problem until 10 years later or something, like probably 10 years after that. So, but when you're in it, I didn't really notice. And I thought it was just normal. And so that would kind of ebb and flow during that time.
Yeah.
And then the endurance racing, I think I was good at it because it replaced the dopamine and endorphins I got from drugs and alcohol doing that. So then it's like, this is good. I can go pour myself into this and then not feel the need to party. But then I'd finish the race, which is what happened in December. And then boom, I fell off the wagon, basically. It's clear looking back. That's what happened. And then I had like this 3 months of falling off the wagon and partying really hard. And you're like, you didn't have too much patience for that.
I did not.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
kind of like what happened?
I did. I can tell you what I remember.
Yeah. I 20 years ago. So
I remember you started off great, and we had a good team. I was real happy. But team brokerage is challenging because it's hard to measure the splits and what they should be. And we found at our company is the younger people kind of expect more than the older people feel like they deserve. And you don't really understand how long it takes to develop those relationships. So, and I'm kind of saying that because I think teams are just challenging, brokerage teams. But you'd started and you were doing really well. And then I remember you had a concert at somewhere in Deep Ellum.
Yeah.
And we used it as kind of a team bonding thing. And April and I showed up there. And I think that was the first time I was thinking, man, Ward seems a little unhinged.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. I mean, it was great. It was the music.
Clearview.
Yeah, I think the music was great. I mean, I had a great time. Yeah. I definitely drank my fair share that night.
Yeah.
And then, not to bring up a sore subject, but then at your wedding, y'all got pretty hammered.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And you and your wife were like out in the middle of the lake. Is that right? Am I remember correctly?
Yeah. Well, I took off my clothes and got into the pool.
Was that the pool I thought that was White Rock.
That was in the pool. No, not at White Rock. But yeah, I remember like going to the Robert Lynn Christmas party. Yeah. Just like blacked out.
Okay.
Driving. That's one of these nights where I remember if I was blacked out and drove home, ironically, and because it happened so few times in my life, but that was one of them. Driving down the toll road. I remember it was at that Mercury Grill. But man, yeah, the drinking was out of hand, and I was trying my best to disguise it, which I did for most people in my life. Like my parents didn't really know. Most people didn't really know unless they were in it with me. Like Gina, eventually, I hid it from her probably for a while, and then she figured it out. I hid it from you pretty good for a while.
But I wasn't a good example. I was drinking pretty hard back then too.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing with it in real estate or playing in a band or being in college. Like, it's all cool. And there's just like, what line do you cross when it's not cool anymore? And I was always pushing that boundary, but I always was getting away with it too. Like, no one had really told me, you have a problem, you need to seek help, until I was going to marriage counseling. Yeah. And the marriage counselor who's getting paid to like give me advice, she's the first person who really had the balls to tell me. Because other people are like, well, it's like you're showing up to work, like you're doing an Ironman, like, I don't know, like you're kind of like doing.
How much were you drinking and doing an Ironman?
I would stop when I would do that, and then I would start after I crossed the finish line. So it was all just like a yo-yo. Yeah, that got like, just like got more intense the older I got.
Right, you just your tolerance built, and you just knew how to navigate it, right?
Yeah. It's like this. It's like the time thing too. It's like you just kind of figure it out, but eventually, the time when you're doing like drugs and alcohol like that for that long of a time, it starts to win. Yeah. Like, and it starts to break you down and makes you get a big gut and makes you start slurring when you didn't used to slur, or just have hangovers when you didn't used to have hangovers. And there's just one little tiny layer after layer that compounds. Yeah. And then you keep going down that path, which is easy to do. Most people that have a problem like that, unfortunately, the statistics, that's where they go. or you get your shit together. And thankfully for me, my daughter being born was like, that was my wake up call. Like she was 1.5. It took me 1.5 years of having a child, and she started speaking like, I don't want to be drunk dad.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah.
And that was it. But anyway, so because I got engaged to Gina in like February of 2007, and then you fired me on March 20th, 2007. 1 year, exactly 1 year. I remember that.
I feel like you kind of love to bring that up.
Dude, I mean, it was like a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it on many Truckin On episodes.
I've heard it.
And it's kind of like this weird thing, like, because I got fired. I wasn't expecting it. I was shocked. I was devastated, really. And I didn't see it coming. It makes total sense looking back, like, for sure. Like, I'm sure I've had to fire lots of people, like, and I know where I was kind of at in my head when that went down. Like, it makes sense. But I'm curious, to hear it from the source. And
sure.
I know memories fade.
Sure.
And we're friends now and everything's fine, but it was awkward.
So, yeah, I mean.
And I stayed there at Robert Lynn. You didn't like make me leave Robert Lynn. You're just like, we're not on the team anymore, but you can stay
I don't
here.
remember that. You stayed for a while as just a guy?
Yeah, I was just a guy without a contract. And like, we didn't really tell George. It was just real awkward. Because you were kind of gone. You were like living in Graham, and you're like, you can do whatever you want, but we're kind of done after this deal.
Yeah. Well, going back to my perfect attendance mindset, I think I'm a huge attendance guy, so I think you weren't present a lot, and there was probably a lot of where is Ward moments.
Yeah.
And probably got frustrated with that. And I used to have a pretty short trigger. I'm a lot more patient today.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned that you need to be more patient with people. They're not robots,
Yeah.
I was probably looking for you to be more of a robot, listing robot,
Yeah.
And so I decided to cut you loose. I always knew you had talent. You were great when you were present, but it was just you weren't always there. I think that's what I remember.
Yeah.
You were. I mean, you had, likable, funny, smart. You come across as really smart. So I guess you are. But
I'm good at seeming smart.
Yeah, wise, very wise. But I think firing you probably helped your business career.
Oh, for sure.
More than anything.
It was like the fire that within.
Yeah.
And I always had that, like, you're
going to show me. Yeah.
I needed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you. And so, yeah, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me, but also like such as life, like one of the shittiest things that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
But I like get it,
Yeah.
and I called you. It really dawned on me during COVID.
Yeah. We went and had lunch.
I wrote, about it all. I just wrote everything down about my life in general. And then I got to that part and I was like looking at my life then. It was the first time I ever looked at it. Uh-huh. So that was like 13 years after it happened, basically. Like, because I was still mad at you.
Really?
Till this, yeah. It's like, I'm going to fucking show him.
Yeah.
But then I sat down, I was like, yeah, I was like acting pretty erratic at that stage of life. And I'd already had to hire and fire people myself by then.
Yeah.
And so I'm most like looking at this like, I know what kind of a person I was. I meet plenty of me's all the time, like from back then at least, that are not fully in it. Like, sure, you're smart, you're good, you can do this, but like, do you want to do this or what? Like,
yeah, I mean, I felt like I worked or played with a lot of passion, And I was trying to win it all,
Yeah.
That was my mentality.
Yeah.
And, so that's what you're saying.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah. So thanks for doing that. I needed it.
Well, I'm glad it helped you.
And then you moved on and left Robert Lynn. So what brought that up?
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that.
Yeah. So I moved to Graham. I'm going to be a high school football coach, and I start mentoring at the high school because I was doing $700 to $1 million in commissions a year, living in Graham, hardly doing anything, just answering my phone. And it was really hard to give up. That was it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was especially 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of money. And I'm like, do I really want to do this? I can't really tell. My heart was not really totally sold out into the coaching thing. So I mentored at the high school. And then here came this moment where I knew I'd made a mistake, kind of like the CC's Pizza mistake. I walked by I'm at the junior high mentoring kids, and I walked by the junior high teacher's lunchroom, and they're in this windowless room eating beef fritters. And I look at them and I go, that is not the life I want. So I said, that's it. I'm burned out.
You were thinking back to going to Bucks with me on Market Center
Yes,
Boulevard.
Bucks was great.
So good.
Yeah. What's that?
You having some burgers, and they have like all the little put your own fixins on it bar.
Yeah.
I love places like that.
Yeah, since COVID, they don't let you do fixins.
No, like Fuddruckers went out of business.
Yeah.
Man, that was my favorite place to go do.
That's right.
You can put like all the shit on there you want.
Yeah. So anyway, I realized that I didn't want to coach at that moment, and I realized I was kind of burned out of Robert Lynn. So I was like, I'm gonna start my own company, and that's what happened.
How's that been? 20 years now, basically.
Almost 20 years. Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Super challenging. Not. And I hope brokers hear this, not the best financial decision. You can make more money as an agent than you can as the broker.
I get people trying to tell me the opposite. Like I've got my own little style and everything. Like it would be so cool for you to have your own company. Like you could come do this and you can sell it for 10x, blah, blah, blah. But the thought of it all would, I just don't. I like to do my one little thing I do, like to have to go deal with the accounting and the HR and hiring and mentoring and all of that. Like that takes a lot of energy.
It takes all your time. I don't broker really anymore. You know, I do. I think last year I was the worst agent in the office.
Really,
as far as brokerage.
So what about like your clients though? Do you just like hand them to?
I did. I just kind of hand them out over time because you really can't do both well.
Yeah.
You can't be an agent and then be the broker and run the company.
Yeah. So, but you've had guys there for a long time.
Yeah, we have a great shop. We have a bunch of good guys.
How many?
We have 20 agents.
Wow.
In 3 offices.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
So I'm really proud of opening the new 2 offices. We opened an office in Fort Worth and Oklahoma City about the same time, about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's been really fun for me to see if I was up for that, if I could make that work.
What does that require? That's so, like the opening a Fort Worth office or an Oklahoma office. Like, what is that? What's the difference?
Well, it was just kind of like starting over because, we had Mercer Company day one. It was me and April.
Yeah.
And then we hired a guy named Bob Kent. And for a long time, it was like 5 of us.
Yeah.
And then we started filling out the different submarkets of Dallas, and we got to maybe 10. And that's where we sat for a long time, 10 or 12 guys. And then about 2 years ago, I've always wanted to open other markets.
Yeah.
And about 2 years ago, I was 50. I told my wife and my business partner, I was like, if we don't do this now, I'm going to be too old to do it. And so we had a salesman that was an excellent salesman for us in Garland, and he had moved to Oklahoma City to get in the cannabis business.
Okay.
He was from Oklahoma City. And, that was when the cannabis business was taking off up there, and he was like, it's the gold rush. Well, it played out, and he was available, and I convinced him to open an office up there.
Yeah.
And then about that same time, we had a really good young salesman named Nico Padilla. He was working Mesquite, and we never really could get going in Fort Worth. And he said, I want to open the Fort Worth office and run it. So I really admired him for having the balls to throw away whatever he had built. And he had a really good first 2 years in Mesquite.
Yeah.
And but he was willing to throw all that away and bet on himself. And so I was like, I'll do it.
Cool.
Let's do it.
That's cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the greatest obstacle you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I thought about that. I wish I had a better one. I really think just the hardest thing I ever had to do was get through 2-a-days at Rice.
Really?
Yeah, it was just...
Every year?
Every year was so physically demanding. Just the heat, the pounding. So just getting through that is what forged my spirit, I guess.
I can't imagine having to play college football more than 1 year. Like it was that when I quit, it was one of the best feelings that I've ever experienced. It was sad, but it was also like, whoa, I don't have to do 2-a-days ever again. Like this is weird.
Yeah.
And I can't. Did it take a physical toll on you that you feel today playing 4 years at Rice?
Yeah, my left knee gives me trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tore my MCL. I didn't have surgery. Just tried to fight through it. And now it's my knee that bothers me when I run.
Yeah.
I can't really run like I used to, which I hate.
How many buildings do you own now?
Oh, I think I have 70 rooftops.
70 rooftops.
Yeah, 140 tenants.
Do you buy and sell buildings every year?
Every year.
Yeah.
Every year, yeah. I bought my first Dollar General yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
My dad owns Big Lots.
Okay.
They just went bankrupt.
Oh, did they really?
So he's trying to sell it if you want a vacant Big Lots.
Your dad you shared some wisdom that your dad gave you that I still carry with me about buying ground leases, how they were just so simple to manage and own because there's really nothing to them.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more appealing that is.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
always his thing. Since he was like really about probably like your age, like in his mid-50s, 50-ish, that's when his new strategy became like no maintenance.
Did he own a bunch of
He was doing
stuff?
more like land and doing development deals.
Oh, okay.
He was building like office tech build-to-suits and flipping land.
Okay.
But then he just went all in on retail, like a little industrial, but mainly he likes the retail ground leases and just collect checks.
Yeah, I remember when we ran into each other, he owned the land under medieval times.
He did.
And
then in the market.
Yeah.
In the 75207.
Yeah.
And they had a purchase option and bought it. And then he traded into the FedEx Express facility in Addison.
Yeah.
Which I've told him, like, never sell the FedEx Addison ever. Even when the market was going crazy. Like, just do not ever sell it. Like,
Does he still have it?
Yeah, he still has it.
Good.
Thankfully, I would be real pissed. and he has me do some brokerage work for him on
Yeah.
it, you know, and I'm like doing a BOV and getting comps and telling him like how to negotiate and like you can pay him. I'm not doing it. My team's doing it. Like getting all this information. It's like, you're going to pay us a fee? He's like, you stand to inherit this building. So, and I'm like, well, I know, but if I do inherit that building, I'm going to pay brokers a fucking brokerage fee.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm not paying you a brokerage fee for this.
Do you mow the lawn for him?
And no, I don't. And then he just said, you know what? If you want a brokerage fee so bad, I'm just going to fucking sell it.
Oh,
it's like, whoa,
God.
don't fucking go selling it. Like, don't sell it, dude. Fine, I'll give you comps, like, whatever. Don't sell the fucking FedEx building, please.
Gosh.
Hilarious.
Oh.
You'll have to pull that one on one of your brokered children one day.
I leased my dad's building. My dad had one building, and I leased it for him, and he pays me a fee. So,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
I hear you.
It's just part
I
of
hear you.
It's part of the deal.
Yeah, I get
You
it.
just got to pick your battles. Cool, man. So what's your favorite restaurant?
I love Town Hearth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I go there
in your market.
in my market. Probably go there twice a month.
Really?
Love it.
It's a good spot.
It is good.
I haven't been in a while. What is a book?
Yeah.
Here's another thing that happened with us.
Yeah.
You may not remember this, but I do. You gave me your copy of The Greatest Salesman Alive, and I took it with me on a wedding that I went to,
Yeah.
and it got ruined
Oh no.
by alcohol.
Oh really?
Like it got poured over and ruined, and you were not happy about it.
Because it was my personal
It was your
copy.
personal copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a new one, but it's like, sorry, I ruined this. It's just like, dude, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. There were so many little things that are just like piling up. But that's a good book that you turned me on to.
Yeah, that is a great book, and there's a lot of good things that come out of the book other than just sales. You know, it's not just purely sales. Man, it really just depends on what era I'm in. I just read King of Diamonds. Have you heard of that?
No.
Do you know the story of the King of Diamonds?
No.
No. So in the 60s, there was a jewel thief that wreaked havoc in North Dallas. And my wife and I just read that book. It is a great read. If you're a Dallas person, it's an incredible read.
Really?
Because he never got caught and stole, I'm going to say in today's dollars, about $10 million worth of jewelry over about 50 heists.
Really?
Yeah.
In Dallas?
In Dallas in the 60s.
It's wild.
Never caught him. There's a lot of people they think were the King of Diamonds. But it's a great book. It's really, especially if you're from Dallas, it's a great read.
Yeah. I got to read it.
Yeah. And then probably if you would have found me during COVID, I reread every George Orwell book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And just,
That hit home.
yeah, just the writing was on the wall for all that. I mean, it was, and the quote that just resonated COVID was the purpose of war is to end surplus. And that's what COVID did. It ended surplus.
What was your outlook on COVID? Did you have kids at home still?
Yeah, I had kids in high school.
You were in Florida during that?
I was in Florida. We had to come back to Texas because they shut the school down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and my oldest son, he was at Texas, and I went down there and saw him during COVID. He was having to do everything online in his apartment, and he had gained a bunch of weight and just looked mentally unhealthy to me. And so I took him out of school. I told him, like, you're not going back to Texas the second semester. You're not going to sit in your dorm all day long. I don't like your mental state. And he got a job on a ski mountain and worked on the ski mountain the second semester. And I'm really glad I did that because I felt like those kids that were in college and high school were affected mentally.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's strange, the whole thing. What about a quote?
I think I gave it to you. I'll use the Orwell one I gave to you.
Oh, yeah, you did give me one.
Yeah.
Okay. Logan will put that in the show notes. And I forget what other questions I asked.
I want to answer the mystical one.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe I forgot that. Well, yeah. Have you ever had a mystical experience?
Yes. I've had 2.
Really?
Yes. And I'll tell you one. If you want to hear the other one, I'll tell you the other one.
I want to hear both.
Okay. So
I can't believe I didn't ask that yet.
Yeah. It's a good question.
Thanks.
It's a good question. All right. So the baby one was, I'm on the Robert Lynn top producer trip.
To Las Vegas?
To Las Vegas. Feel like it's 01, 02. Can't remember exactly. Stay up all night gambling, drinking, and I kill it. My wallet, I can't close my wallet. I got so much money. $3,000 or $5,000 in cash. Can't remember. I go down to the lobby coffee bar, I think at the Venetian. This very well-dressed older guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, I left my wallet on the plane. Could you help me out?" And I was like, "Sure. What do you want me to do?" He's like, "Well, really, I think if I had $100, I'd be fine." And so I'm pretty high on life at that point, you know. So I was like, "Let's go in this coffee bar and have a cup of coffee, and I'll give you this $100 and we can chat." So we go in the coffee bar, we chat, and he just starts spewing all this financial stuff, just spewing it. And he tells me, this isn't really mystical, but this is kind of like mind blowing that I missed it. Is that mystical? You missed something. He says, "Thank you so much for your generosity." And he goes, "I have a tip I want to give you that I think would change your life." He goes, "There's a new company that's coming out that's going to change the internet, and you should invest in it." And I was like, "All right," I'm half drunk. "Okay." He goes, "It's called Google." And I go, "Google? That sounds like what a baby would say." He goes, "Yeah, Google's going to change the internet." So if I would have bought some Google shares.
Are you serious?
Yes, absolutely serious. And about 6 months later, Google went IPO.
Did you Google it?
No.
You didn't even Google it.
Didn't even Google. But yeah, they IPO'd and crushed it.
Yeah. That was a mystical experience. That was a missed
experience.
Missed opportunity from a mystical experience.
Yeah. The next one's a little more religious.
Okay.
This one's really funny. So 6 weeks before COVID broke, I'm sitting at a Luby's in North Dallas, and this older gentleman comes up to me. I'm eating by myself in Luby's in North Dallas at Midway. I love the Luby's.
Do you?
I do. I don't know. Anyway.
Some pot roast?
Yeah, just the cafeteria style. You just get to kind of pick and choose.
Do you get a couple of desserts?
Yeah. If I'm running a lot, if I'm running, a marathon, why not?
Yeah.
This gentleman, I get up to go get some more tea or something, and this gentleman stops me in my tracks. And he's very intense, but I can't tell if he's just kind of weird or homeless. I don't know. And he goes, "Do you believe in the Lord?" And I said, "I'm no fool. I believe in the Lord." And he goes, "Oh, I got to tell you a story." He goes, "Jesus came and got me one night and took me to hell and showed me what it was like. And it was terrible, and it smelled, and it was scary." He goes, "The next day I went to church, and I got saved." And I was like, "Well, that's great. That's great." So a story like that, you're like, okay, crazy. And then he goes, "Then Jesus came and got me again." I said, "He did?" He goes, "Yeah." He showed me the future. And he goes, "Very shortly, China will invade America, and we'll be under martial law. And he goes, and then, this is the funny part of it. He goes, and then Tom Brady will win a Super Bowl in an open air stadium. Okay. So 6 weeks later, a Chinese virus attacks our country. A Chinese invasion.
Yeah.
We're put in COVID lockdown. Martial law. Tom Brady goes to the Buccaneers. They win a Super Bowl in an open air stadium. So in my house, we call that guy the Luby's prophet.
You never saw him again?
Never saw him again.
Wow.
The Luby's prophet.
You have had some mystical experiences. Yeah. I wonder who the next prophet will be.
I don't know.
You need to profit off the next prophet.
Yeah.
You could have kind of taken advantage of both of these bits of information that you were given.
Well, okay, so I was aware of that when the Luby's prophet approached me, and I realized in the moment that maybe this was another moment in my life.
Short the market or something? Like,
and I was going to short the football game. I said, who won the football game? And he was like, well, Tom Brady did. And I was like, oh, okay. And I go, then I was going for prop bets. And I said, did he throw an interception in the game? And he goes, I don't remember.
That's wild.
So
that's cool, man. Yeah, I believe in all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Any cause that you'd like to give a shout out to that you're supportive of?
No, I just support my church, really. I don't really have anything.
Do you go to church in Florida, or what do you consider your church home?
I go to church wherever I'm at. So I go to First Baptist Dallas here.
Okay.
Which is like, it's like the big production church. Yeah. It's a good church, kind of corporate. And then when I'm in Florida, I go to a church called West Bradenton. Love it. They have great music. Great music.
Yeah.
So.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
Well, man, I'm glad you finally got to make it by to do some trucking on with me.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Really appreciate you being in my life, my friend.
Well, good. Hopefully. Yeah. Yes, it's been good. Let's keep it going.
Let's keep it going.
Keep it trucking.
All right. Thanks for trucking on.
Thank you.
Peace.